Hi, I'm Adam, the Hybrid Home Guy, and as a sustainable builder, I need to use sustainable products. I can think of no better example than here in Bayport, Minnesota.
This is the largest factory for Andersen Corporation, a 2.5 million square foot facility that manufactures windows and sliding glass doors. From a humble lumber yard arose a legacy of a Danish immigrant who milled window kits for 50 cents each. Within a decade, the Andersen Lumber Company had created the world's largest window factory. By 1924, over 1 million frames were sold, and soon, sales manager Jim Rowland was touring the country, showing off the unique prefab windows in a specially modified Buick Coupe. Hans Andersen could never have imagined what his dream would have become. This plant makes over 20,000 windows every day, including the only windows in our Earth Shelter project. Windows could have been our weak link in creating an energy-efficient underground home. 24 windows and 4 doors face south out of 5 domes that are buried up to 26 feet underground. Andersen windows were selected because of their incredible efficiency and because of Andersen windows' proven sustainable track record. Our 400 series Andersen windows arrived at the plant as long sections of lumber, which are scanned and computer mapped to make the most efficient use of every inch of wood. Blasts of air direct the cut sections to destinations all over the factory, and scraps and sawdust are collected for processing as well.
We're at one of the beginning stages of building a double hung window. Here we see a piece of wood that's finger jointed. Finger jointing is basically taking all the scrap pieces from the other manufacturing processes here at the plant, fingering them together like this with adhesive. But it's not as attractive as what you'd see in this level window. So the station we're at right now, they actually take this board and they wrap it in vinyl.
Any defects in the wood are quickly taken out and sent to the grinder for sawdust. Many of the sash pieces can simply be trimmed down as original pieces.
So what he's done, he's identified where that's at, and what we're going to do is cut it down to our next smallest sash size. We can take and cut that tenon joint in here, still use this for sash, and then this defective piece will be ground up and recycled.
So when you find a defect in a product like this, entire board's not wasted.
Tiny nailer holes are even collected. Millions of vinyl buttons that are remolded and extruded into different parts. They can remelt this plastic several times before it is no longer useful. Hundreds of saws and shapers cut the boards into window frames, and each chip of sawdust is collected for either resale or use within the plant.
For 100 years, Andersen Windows has had to figure out what to do with this. And they've come up with some really cool uses for this sawdust. But believe it or not, they can't get enough of it.
We do generate a fair amount of sawdust, and most of it used to be brokered off-site for animal bedding. Turkeys, cattle, horses, you name it. Currently we're using our sawdust, the highest priority use is for the Fibrex material, which is a composite. Secondly, we're using it as a boiler fuel to make steam, which we use to heat the plant in the winter and cool the plant in the summer.
Andersen's steam plant went online in 2007. Sawdust is processed into wood flour, which burns like natural gas inside the boiler. The company has been using their waste wood for heat since World War II.
You look at the dates on our boilers, the existing boilers that we've decommissioned are still there. And I believe the earliest nameplate is 1944. So we've been burning wood since the early 40s, over 60 years now, or approaching 60 years. So, and we've been using it to support production for a long time. So, and I'm sure we've come a long ways in the efficiency of how we've used the wood, from Fibrex to boiler fuel and so forth. But you know, it's a pretty neat story.
With an astonishing 98.5% of material used, Andersen has been awarded for its environmental initiatives by the EPA, recently named 2010 Energy Star Partner of the Year by the Department of Energy. Andersen has a long record of protecting natural resources.
This river is a national scenic waterway. It's called the St. Croix River, and it flows into the Mississippi down south of St. Paul. And it really represents a long-standing commitment of the Andersen Corporation. And if you think about it, we make windows and patio doors, and of course the primary job of a window is to see through. And if the environment didn't look very good, or there was a lot of rampant crime outside, why would you put a window in your house? So it's almost a perpetual duty for us to preserve the environment, but it's also part of our values of the corporation itself.
The St. Croix River flows next to the Bayport plant, and the employees inside realize it's theirs to protect.
Well, it's definitely important. You know, after you leave work, you know, you live in the communities and you fish on the river on the weekend, you boat with your family, you sightsee when the leaves turn like they are now, and you know, it's the right thing to do and it's important, and most everyone would agree with that.
We've got about 3,000 people that work here in Bayport, and you know, everyone wants to do the right thing. And once people understand, you know, what the possible outcomes are for decisions which are made, sustainability is really not that hard of a thing to do and to promote.
Team Hybrid insists that their suppliers and contractors share their vision of sustainability. Andersen has been doing this for over a century.
We work with our suppliers to minimize the amount of packaging they use in the first place. If they can't provide us returnable packaging that we send back, then we ask that they provide materials that can be recycled. Things like stretch wrap, cardboard, it may be metal banding that we chop up and send back to a metal company.
Glass for the Earth Shelter project was produced by Cardinal Glass, where 3,000-degree furnaces melt raw materials and sends them to a tin bath that floats the glass as it's cooled. It's cut into lengths and inspected for defects, which are cut and sent back to the furnace for recycling. The 400 series windows were constructed with custom glazing based on the solar needs of the Earth Shelter project. Our 4 outswing French doors are also created at Andersen, which are boxed carefully and tugged to the warehouse for shipment to Michigan.
As I toured Andersen, couldn't help but notice a parallel between Team Hybrid and Andersen, from their reuse of material to the passion it takes to be sustainable. Very honored to have Andersen Window as a member of Team Hybrid.